Well, ladies and gents, I thought that no Iftar dinner would be complete, given that we have a whole table of Navy people without a naval reflection. So our Navy reflection is based on a scene from the Gallipoli campaign 103 years ago, and it illustrates the power of compassion and the profound respect for humanity found in religious faith. At the same time, a dozen battleships and many destroyers and troop transports were heading towards the beaches, that's in Cape Helles and also Anzac Cove, on the morning of 25 April 2015. The 180-foot-long, state-of-the-art, British-built E-class submarine, AE2, was making its way towards the Dardanelles. The Dardanelles were heavily defended and had 7 lines of mines, unknown where they were. Yet the submarine's job was to make its way through. And under the command of Lieutenant Commander Henry Hugh Gordon Darcy Stoker, what a great name, AE2 and her crew of 35 had a mission, and that was to penetrate the Dardanelles and to run amok in the Sea of Marmara, especially to disrupt the Turkish from resupplying the troops on the Gallipoli Peninsula as the troops went in. Well, the story of AE2's 6-day mission is extraordinary, and their exploits have been understandably eclipsed by the land campaign. And as you read and think about that, the tremendous loss of life over those 6 days, it's not easy to see why a lonely little submarine behind enemy lines story is not well known. Well, I'm not going to help the cause tonight because I'm not talking about what AE2 did, but I really want to turn the attention on the Turkish crew of the torpedo boat that eventually took her. You see, AE2 was spotted on the surface by a Turkish torpedo boat. Stoker gave the order as he saw this boat coming towards her to dive, as he'd done 1,000 times before. However, a catastrophic mechanical failure began a series of awful events on that boat. She dived like a rock, heading towards the bottom, only to be recovered and then start to ascend at a great rate back up to the surface, where she breached and lulled on the surface. Stoker tried to get her back under again. She went down like a rock, and on it went several times until the boat finally came to a rest on the surface, unable to move. The boat then came under heavy fire from the torpedo boat. A torpedo was fired and narrowly missed. Another gunboat joined in, and the boat was sitting there, a big, fat target sitting on the surface. With the gunboat still firing and smoke billowing from the conning tower, Captain Ali Reza, the captain of that torpedo boat, saw that she was not any threat any longer. And so he manoeuvred his torpedo boat in between the gunboat that was firing on that submarine, just to offer some protection. Stoker inside the boat had heard the firing stop. There were obviously shrapnel and projectiles bouncing off the hull. That ceased. And he also heard the long blast of a siren. And the siren was to tell the gunboat to cease firing. And on hearing that sensation, Stoker looked around and he had no hesitation in giving the order. "All hands on deck," he said. "It's over." It's Captain Ali Reza's account that I'm turning to. He says the sailors began to leave that conning tower, waving their hats and shirts as they came down onto the deck. AE2 was slowly sinking, and the sailors, one by one, were jumping into the sea. Captain Reza called his men to order. He said, "My sons, the reward for your zeal and perseverance is the taking of this submarine. But now the war is over for them. Hostility has come to an end, for now your mission is humanity." He said, "I'm sure you'll carry out this mission of humanity in a bold manner befitting a Turkish soldier." And with that, the crew of the torpedo boat began to haul the sailors of AE2 out of the water and courteously welcoming them aboard their torpedo boat with a warm handshake and a glass of water. It is an extraordinary story. It's a story of blood and sweat and fear and relief. It's a story of what genuine faith does. It rolls up its sleeves and it brings humanity to the most pressing and challenging and diabolical of circumstances. It is a conduit that restores relationships, settles conflict, and heals brokenness. Genuine faith enables people of faith to see each other, even former enemies, as human beings, as men and women of infinite worth and value. So here we had this extraordinary story, the Muslim crew of a torpedo boat warmly welcoming the mainly Christian crew of that sub that they'd only just a few moments ago been committed to utterly destroying, welcoming them as brothers in arms and brothers in need. It's a great example of genuine humanity. And friends, it's at events like these, during Ramadan Iftar dinners, that we too join together. And tonight we join together over a meal, and yet we share much more than just food. We're reminded of how connected we are, of one community to another, and the very great need in our world for a shared understanding of our common humanity. Thank you.